My wife thought my pain was a game. She bet her coworkers $5,000 that she could make me break down and cry in a crowded restaurant. She planned to use my deepest traumas, my dead brother, my late father, as her weapons. What she didn't know was that I had been warned. And for our anniversary dinner, I had a special gift for her. It wasn't jewelry. It was my divorce attorney's business card, and I was about to give her the show she paid for. My world, as I knew it, ended with a quiet ping from a social media app one rarely checked. It wasn't a cataclysm of fire and fury, but a sterile, blue and white notification on LinkedIn, of all places. For 7 years, my marriage to Kendra had been, I thought, a partnership. We were a team. I was 38, she was 35, and we were building a life that felt stable, comfortable, and filled with a quiet, unassuming love. Or so I believed. The message was from a man named Hua Tin, one of Kendra's colleagues. I met him a handful of times at dreary corporate holiday parties and summer picnics. He was a quiet, observant man who always seemed to be on the periphery, nursing a drink and watching the forced merriment with a detached amusement. His message was jarringly out of place in the professional landscape of LinkedIn. It read, "Hey man, this is incredibly awkward, and I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but you need to know something. Don't ask questions, just check your wife's Venmo. Look for transactions with Bianca, Lorraine, and Fiona. There's something ugly going on you should know about." The message was cryptic, unnerving, and felt like a stone dropping into the placid pond of my life. Huadin had always struck me as a straight shooter, the kind of guy who wouldn't stir up drama for no reason. His warning, as bizarre as its delivery was, carried a weight of sincerity that I couldn't ignore. Kendra and I had always prided ourselves on transparency. We didn't have a joint account, a decision we'd made early on to maintain a sense of financial independence, but we had full access to each other's accounts. It was a symbol of trust, a digital open-door policy that, until that moment, I never once felt the need to use. The thought of snooping felt like a betrayal in itself. But Watton's words echoed in my mind. Something ugly going on. With a knot tightening in my stomach, I logged into her bank app, my fingers feeling clumsy and foreign on the keypad. I navigated to her Venmo history, my heart hammering against my ribs. And there it was. 3 transactions, dated about a month prior, laid out like exhibits in a trial I didn't know I was a part of. The first was from Bianca, $1,500 with the caption, "Can't wait to see this public meltdown. You're evil, and I love it." The second from Lorraine, $2,000, accompanied by the chillingly casual comment, "This is almost too easy for UK. Free money." The third was from Fiona, another $1,500, with a caption that made the air leave my lungs. "He's gonna bawl like a baby. Get the ugly cry on camera." All 3 payments were marked as accepted. The money transferred seamlessly into Kendra's account. $5,000. That was the price tag they had placed on my public humiliation. My grief, my deepest vulnerabilities, were apparently worth $5,000 to the woman I share my bed with. The room started to feel small, the air thick and unbreathable. This couldn't be the whole story. It had to be a joke, a sick, twisted prank that I wasn't in on. I needed more. My mind raced, searching for another avenue, another place where she might have let her guard down. The iPad. She used it for everything: reading, shopping, and messaging. She was perpetually logged into her iMessage account on it, a convenience she never thought twice about. I found it on the kitchen counter, its screen gleaming innocently. With trembling hands, I unlocked it and opened the Messages app. It didn't take long to find. A group chat, ominously titled Operation Waterworks, sat near the top of her recent conversations. The thread went back 2 months, a long, scrolling chronicle of their conspiracy. The words on the screen blurred together, a cascade of cruelty that felt like a physical blow. Kendra's messages were the worst. "I'm telling you, he's so sensitive deep down," she'd written. "I can make him cry in under 5 minutes. It's like a superpower." Fiona had replied, "Your husband seems pretty chill, though. He always has it together at work events." Kendra's response was swift and confident. "That's a front. Trust me, I know exactly which buttons to push. Dad issues, dead brother. I have the entire trauma package mapped out. It's like a speed run to tears." Another message from Bianca appeared, a laughing emoji attached. "That's so messed up, LOL. I love it. Prove it. Make him cry in public, and we'll pay up." The conversation then devolved into the grim specifics of their wager. The setting had to be a public restaurant. The performance had to be full, ugly crying. The ultimate prize, an extra $2,000, was for achieving this on our anniversary. And the final, sickening cherry on top, another 1,500 if she could capture it all on video without me knowing. Kendra's final message in that exchange was a single, triumphant sentence. Done. Easiest 5K I'll ever make. Watch and learn, ladies. The world tilted on its axis. My brother, Mark, had died in a horrific car accident 6 years ago. We were inseparable, two halves of the same whole. The grief had been a tidal wave that threatened to drown me, and Kendra had been my life raft. She held me, listened to my stories about him, and comforted me through the darkest nights. Or so I had thought. Now, I saw the chilling truth. She wasn't just comforting me. She was taking meticulous notes, cataloging my pain for future weaponization. The plan they had concocted was laid out in horrifying detail. Our anniversary dinner was to be at Restaurant Tilo, an upscale, notoriously public place. During her toast, she would bring up Mark, musing about how he never got to see me reach my full potential. Then, she'd pivot to our late father, mentioning how disappointed he would be that I hadn't pursued a more ambitious career or given him grandchildren. The final blow would be a carefully crafted speech about our future, where she would express doubts about my emotional maturity and whether I was truly man enough for the next chapter of our lives. He'll completely crumble, she wrote to her coven of friends. He'll probably start apologizing and begging me to give him another chance. It's going to be absolutely hilarious. I sat there in the silence of our home, the glow of the iPad screen illuminating the profound ugliness of the woman I had married. 7 years of my life, of my trust, of my love, all of it felt like a lie. The initial shock gave way to a cold, crystalline rage. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a psychological vivisection performed for sport. But as the minutes ticked by, that rage began to morph. It sharpened, honed itself into a singular, focused purpose. She wanted a show? I would give her a show she would never forget. My first call was to my old college friend, Terrence. He was a sharp, no-nonsense corporate lawyer, not a divorce attorney, but he was the smartest person I knew. I screenshot everything. The Venmo transactions, the entire Operation Waterworks chat, and backed it all up to 3 separate cloud services before heading to his office. He read through the messages, his expression shifting from detached legal analysis to genuine disgust. He looked up at me, a grim smile playing on his lips. Prenup, he asked. Nope, I replied. Kids? Thank God, no. He leaned back in his leather chair. Well, my friend, he said, this is going to be fun. My next step was to thank the man who had lit the fuse. I reached out to Huatin and we met for coffee. He looked relieved and deeply uncomfortable. He explained that he'd overheard them laughing and planning in the break room one afternoon. He'd felt sick about it for weeks before finally deciding he had to say something. He filled in even more gaps. This wasn't the first time Kendra had treated my life as a source for a wager. A year ago, she had bet her friends $500 that she could make me skip my best friend Dennis's bachelor party. She'd faked a severe panic attack, complete with hyperventilating and theatrical tears. I'd stayed home, racked with guilt for even considering leaving her, while she had cashed in her winnings. I had missed a major milestone in my best friend's life because I thought my wife was in crisis. There was another failed bet about convincing me to sell my dad's car, a beautifully restored 1967 Mustang he'd left to me. It was my most prized possession, a tangible link to him. For months, she'd relentlessly pushed me to sell it, arguing that it was a trauma object holding me back from properly processing my grief. Her words now echoed with a sinister new meaning. The anniversary dinner was in 4 days. Kendra was already in full love-bombing mode, peppering me with affectionate texts, talking endlessly about how special this year was, and hinting that she had something incredibly important to discuss with me. I played my part perfectly, mirroring her excitement, telling her I had a huge surprise for her too. Oh, babe, she giggled over the phone. Nothing could possibly top what I planned for you. You have no idea. She was right about that. The next 3 days were a whirlwind of meticulous preparation. I retained a real divorce attorney, a shark named Miss Rodriguez whom Terrence had recommended. Her specialty was high-conflict divorces, and her eyes lit up when I laid out the evidence. While she prepared the paperwork, I opened a new, private bank account at a completely different bank and began quietly moving my personal funds. I spent hours documenting every shared asset we had, backing up 7 years of emails, photos, and messages. I even installed a one-party consent recording app on my phone. The night before our anniversary, the atmosphere in our apartment was electric. Kendra was practically vibrating with a giddy, predatory excitement. She was constantly on her phone, smiling at texts from her group chat. I even watched as she subtly tested the camera angle on her phone, pretending to take selfies but clearly planning her setup for the following night. "You seem really excited about tomorrow," I said, my voice a calm, even mask over the storm raging inside me. She turned to me, her eyes sparkling with a malicious glee she mistook for love. "Oh, babe," she purred. "It's going to be a night that's truly unforgettable." She had no idea how right she was. We arrived at Restaurant Tilo at 7 o'clock sharp. The place was exactly as I'd imagined. Ostentatiously fancy, with dim lighting, hushed conversations, and tables spaced just far enough apart for privacy, but close enough for everyone to be a spectator if something dramatic happened. Kendra was a vision in a stunning red dress, one she knew was my favorite. I wore my best suit, but my most important accessory was the sleek, leather briefcase I carried. "What's in the briefcase?" she asked, a playful curiosity in her voice. "Your surprise," I answered with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. As soon as we were seated, she went about her work, propping her phone carefully against the wine bottle, the camera lens aimed directly at my face. "For memories," she said with a wink. The first part of the dinner was a masterclass in manipulation. Over appetizers and small talk, she skillfully steered the conversation toward every emotional landmine she had mapped out. My career, my relationship with my family, our future. I gave her nothing, responding with boring, cheerful, one-sentence answers. I could see the frustration mounting in her eyes. She kept glancing at her phone, no doubt receiving impatient messages from her audience. Then came a main event. She raised her glass of champagne. I had ordered water, claiming I was on antibiotics, a lie she readily accepted. "To 7 years," she began, her voice dripping with faux sentimentality. "You know, Ryan, I've been thinking about your brother a lot lately. It was starting. It's just so sad that he never got to see the man you've become. Though," she continued, her voice taking on a sharper edge, "I do wonder what he'd think about how your career has turned out. Remember how he always said you'd be running your own company by now?" It was a blatant lie. Mark was a teacher. He couldn't have cared less about corporate success. But she wasn't aiming for accuracy. She was aiming for pain. "And your dad," she pressed on, her eyes locked on mine, searching for the first crack in my composure. "He always wanted grandkids by now, didn't he? It must be so hard for you, knowing you've disappointed both of them." The couple at the adjacent table had stopped talking and were now openly staring. "Perfect." She continued her monologue for 5 agonizing minutes, a greatest hits collection of every insecurity and painful memory I had ever entrusted to her, all weaponized and fired at point-blank range. Her phone was silently capturing it all. I felt the sting, the raw ache of her betrayal, but I channeled it. I thought about that scene in The Lion King where Mufasa dies, a trick I'd used as a kid to win staring contests, and I allowed my eyes to well up, to become glassy with unshed tears. She saw it and leaned in, sensing victory. This was the moment she'd been waiting for, the kill shot. "Ryan, I need to be completely honest with you," she whispered, her voice a symphony of feigned concern. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about our future, and I'm just not sure you're emotionally stable enough for the life I want. Maybe it's time we consider." "You're absolutely right," I said, my voice clear and steady, cutting her off mid-sentence. She blinked, utterly baffled. The script had been broken. "What?" I stood up, my chair scraping softly against the polished floor. I picked up my briefcase and placed it on the table. By now, we were the undeniable center of the restaurant's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, my voice carrying across the hushed room, "my beautiful wife here has just given me a moment of profound clarity." Kendra's face went from confused to horrified as she realized what was happening. Her skin turned a pale, chalky white. "Ryan, sit down," she hissed, her voice a venomous whisper. 7 years ago," I continued, ignoring her, "I married this woman, thinking she loved me. But I've learned that love doesn't involve betting $5,000 with your coworkers on whether you can make your husband cry in public. Does it?" A collective gasp rippled through the nearby tables. I pulled out my phone, angled the screen toward the room, displaying the damning screenshots of the Operation Waterworks group chat. "That's right, folks. My wife, Kendra, bet her friends Bianca, Lorraine, and Fiona $5,000 that she could make me cry tonight by cruelly bringing up my dead brother and my deceased father." Kendra shot up from her chair, her hand lunging for her phone on the table. But I was faster. I snatched it and held aloft. "Oh, were you recording this for the bet?" I asked, then looked directly into her phone's camera. Bianca, y Lorena, y Fiona. Hope you're all enjoying the show. Give me my phone, she shrieked. In a minute, I said calmly. First, my anniversary gift to you. I clicked open the briefcase and pulled out a thick manila envelope. I tossed it onto the table in front of her. Divorce papers, already filed with the court. You've been served. The restaurant was so silent you could hear a pin drop, until a woman at a nearby table whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Good for you, son." That broke the spell. Kendra lunged at me. A wild animal tried to claw back some control, attempting to grab the papers. Two waiters materialized and stepped between us. The moment she was thwarted, she switched tactics, turning on the waterworks she had so desperately wanted from me. "This is abuse," she wailed. "He's financially controlling me. He's trying to humiliate me." The manager, a tall, imposing man, appeared at our table. "Ma'am, we're going to have to ask you to leave." "I'm not going anywhere. This is my anniversary dinner." I reached into my briefcase again and pulled out another document. "Actually," I said, showing the manager the reservation confirmation, "the reservation is under my name, and I'd like to change it to a table for one, please." As two security guards escorted her out, kicking and screaming, she let out one final, desperate threat. "You can't divorce me. I'll take everything. My dad's a lawyer." I called back after her retreating form. "Your dad's a real estate lawyer, Kendra." "My lawyer, Miss Rodriguez, eats people like him for breakfast." I sat back down, the adrenaline slowly beginning to subside. The older woman who had cheered for me sent over a bottle of the finest champagne on the menu. "For your freedom," the waiter said with a respectful nod. Before I touched my meal, I used Kendra's phone to send a recording of her entire tirade to myself. Then I sent one last text to the Operation Waterworks group chat. "Bets off. She lost." Then I blocked all of them, powered down her phone, and enjoyed the best tasting steak of my entire life. The fallout was nothing short of spectacular. Kendra immediately went scorched earth on social media, posting lengthy diatribes about how I had ambushed and abused her. Her narrative, however, was swiftly dismantled when at least 3 different people who had been at the restaurant that night uploaded their own cell phone videos of her unhinged meltdown. The clips went viral in our local community groups, often with titles like "Woman Bets on Husband's Pain, Loses Everything." Her co-conspirators, Bianca, Lorraine, and Fiona, immediately began to backpedal, claiming it was all a joke and they never intended for it to go so far. Their Venmo history told a different story. Then came the phone calls. Her mother, Agnes, called me, sobbing about how I had destroyed her baby girl. My response was ice. Your baby girl bet money on emotionally torturing me for sport. She was just having fun with her friends. Agnes cried. Fun? She used my dead brother as a prop to win a bet. Goodbye, Agnes. I hung up. Her father, the real estate lawyer, sent a blustering email threatening to sue me for defamation and emotional distress. My lawyer, Miss Rodriguez, sent him a single, concise reply with the screenshots of the group chat attached. We never heard from him again. Kendra, however, wasn't finished. She showed up at my workplace, babbling a sob story to the receptionist about being a victim of my financial abuse. Security had to remove her. She started spreading rumors, telling my coworkers I was gay and cheating on her, a bizarrely contradictory accusation. She even called my own mother, claiming she was pregnant. She wasn't. Her campaign of harassment peaked when she used a key I had forgotten about to break into my apartment and systematically destroy my expensive gaming setup. But she was sloppy. My renter's insurance covered the damage, and my security camera captured her entire rampage in crystal clear HD. Criminal charges were filed. The piece de resistance of her delusion arrived via certified mail a week later. It was an invoice. She had invoiced me for 7 years of emotional labor, household management, and career support. The itemized list was breathtaking in its audacity. Listening to work complaints, $50 per hour x 2,190 hours equals $109,500. Pretending to be interested in sports, $75 per hour x 1,460 hours equals $109,500. The grand total at the bottom was a staggering $415,000. Miss Rodriguez laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes when I showed it to her. Frame this, she choked out. I'm showing this to every client I ever have. The divorce itself was swift. With no kids, no shared property, I had bought the apartment before we were married, and her earning a higher salary than me, she had no grounds for alimony. She walked away with her car and her 401k. I walked away with my freedom. The ultimate justice came from an unexpected source. Her company's HR department got wind of the whole affair. An internal investigation revealed that she and her friends had been using company chat systems to coordinate their gambling and harassment. It was a flagrant violation of multiple policies. All four of them were summarily terminated. A desperate text came from her sister's phone. "You ruined my life." "I have nothing," I replied. "You have exactly what you earned." Her last-ditch manipulation was the most pathetic of all. "I'll kill myself if you don't take me back." I didn't hesitate. I immediately called 911 to request a wellness check at her parents' house and forwarded the message to her entire family. She was placed on a 72-hour psychiatric hold. I later learned that she told the psychiatrist the entire, unvarnished story, apparently expecting sympathy. Instead, the doctor recommended extended therapy for narcissistic personality traits. It's been 2 months since the dinner. Kendra's life has completely imploded. Unemployed and unable to afford her lifestyle, she had to move back in with her parents at 35. Her friends have fared no better. Bianca's husband, prompted by the scandal, discovered she'd been pulling similar manipulative stunts on him for years and filed for divorce. Lorraine is being sued by another former co-worker for workplace harassment. And Fiona's fiancé saw the viral videos and called off their wedding. I've started going to therapy myself to properly process the betrayal, not as fodder for someone's entertainment. I'm even dating someone new, a wonderful woman named Celeste who finds the whole story to be a perfect example of karma. The divorce was finalized last week. I expected to feel a surge of anger or sadness, but all I felt was a profound sense of release, as if I'd been holding my breath for 7 years and could finally exhale. Yesterday, I received one last email from Kendra. "I hope you know what you threw away." I replied, "I know exactly what I threw away. A manipulative, cruel person who gambled with my pain. Best decision I ever made." She replied with one last, pathetic jab. "You were supposed to cry." I typed my final words to her. "Oh, I did. Tears of joy the moment you were gone." She blocked me. Finally. And that Mustang she wanted me to sell? I just finished a full restoration. It's gorgeous. She would have absolutely hated it.